make a quick pivot now to my next subject before I hand over to our next host, the incomparable Jillian. Because one of the things we've been talking about this week is Kanye West's new song, Hail Hitler. Me and Dave have been speaking about it a lot offline. I made some posts about it this week because the question that I am posing and that I'd love for us to ponder if time permits is, what do we want from culture anymore? Where is our culture currently residing? And let me try to sketch out the territory under which I'd like to have this conversation. I think all of us know now that whether it's in news analysis or perhaps in movies and cultural artifacts like music, there is a kind of ongoing homogeneity and banality in the culture. Who are the controversial artists of our time? What do we want from culture? Someone like Kanye West, a hip-hop artist, and hip-hop is a musical genre that in a rudimentary way has always been made up of taking artifacts, whether that's licks or beats or riffs, and creating new content with it, using existing pieces of art to create new pieces of art. And my position on Kanye West's Hail Hitler, even though Kanye West has elsewhere talked about Judaism and the influence of Jewish people in the music industry in ways that certainly align with what you might call conspiracy theories and anti-Semitic tropes. What else? What do we want from artists at this point? What would a 21st century Andy Warhol look like? What would a 21st century D.H. Lawrence or Robert Mapplethorpe look like? What is it to be censored in this day and age? And because the issue of Israel, Palestine, and events in Gaza are so contentious, I'd like to sort of also add as markers the fact that someone like Jerry Seinfeld, who for me was the sort of epitome of a exquisite but somewhat neutral comic voice. Like Jerry Seinfeld in the 90s is not Bill Hicks. He's not Sam Kinison. He's not a sort of an outrage-generating comedian. And he's been pulled into this. In my country, there's a sports commentator called Gary Lineker who's posted pro-Palestinian content. He's been pulled into this. Well, like with figures like Gary Lineker and Jerry Seinfeld, who like 20 years ago were the very sort of epitome of the neutral center ground of a culture, now being quagmired in this issue. I wonder what the role is of an artist. And do we want artists to be avant-garde and risque? And I wonder if it's even possible to have a conversation like this and temporarily sort of put aside what, I'm not even saying put aside, just in good faith assume that no one on this call is an anti-Semite or a racist or a homophobe or driven by hate. I just wonder what you think about it as a cultural artifact. I guess I'll ask Sage if you would care to chime in on that.
There's a lot there. We may have to extend this segment a little bit. I'm willing to give up a couple minutes of mine because this is good. This is good.
Yeah, I will too. Go ahead, Sage.
I'll be quick with mine because I am dying to hear all of ours. I gave up a long time ago on. I mean, yes, there's the entertainment value most importantly, but I don't even think the music is for the most part quality today. I don't. And I guess having kids who are in the world that, as young adults, all through college age, and to look at what they listen to and watch what they listen to and listen and view it with them, to me, I think it's crap. The majority of it, everything is drugs and sex and terrible language. And for me, the culture, those things that have been so acceptable and increased in their toxicity over the last couple of decades since I was that age, is part of the reason for the downfall of our society. So my expectations for artists as a whole are so low, whether it's a Kanye West who, hey, respect the game, I guess, you do you, or Taylor Swift, who is, wholesome and innocent. I don't care. That's why I don't pay attention when they're part of political campaigns, as Kamala Harris brought Taylor Swift in. I think that ended up being detrimental to her campaign, actually. And to me, I feel like we put too much emphasis on these cultural icons and look at where we are because of it. So I don't know if that's too simpleton. For me, I don't pay attention because they piss me off and I blame them for a lot.
I think that's very well said. Say, Jillian, you want to jump in first?
Listen, you could twist my arm on the First Amendment piece for sure, and I've had this argument, but I find him insufferable and disgusting. And I'm sorry, and I'm sure you guys are going to have differing opinions. I think he's mentally ill, and that's very sad and unfortunate. But I think this kind of hate speech and selling swastikas on T-shirts
It's
is
gross.
disgusting. I can't. I won't. I will not listen to it. I will not condone it. I will not. I think even tolerating some of this is provocative and so it just makes you think. And no,
Artsy.
I get the whole First Amendment. This is America. But, and, again, okay, so he's not in jail for promoting this kind of hate speech, but I feel compelled to call it what it is and denounce it personally.
And I
just
actually do
can't.
think he has been, I mean, sure, he has money, I guess, but hasn't he been somewhat canceled? I mean, people say uncancelable, but he went south a couple of years ago, and that was, remember Candace Owens was standing alongside of him as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel
also-
before he went all the way down the rabbit hole, though, Candace was thought-provoking on the whole
I
all
agree.
lives matter thing. But then when he went full blown selling swastikas and on merch, that I
there's a difference.
didn't see Candace standing alongside him at that
No,
point.
I agree
And
with
I
that.
had that. Yeah, I
think
said to
it's-
her. Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead. My bad. Sorry.
No.
Go
Well,
ahead.
sorry. I just think it's important to make a distinction between being canceled unjustly, which obviously happened to many, many people, and so many people got caught up in the Me Too thing and everything else. There's a difference between being canceled unjustly and losing your job and everything else, and also choosing to destroy your career.
Correct.
Now, he still
Good
has
point,
a
Dave.
career, but he has
Yeah.
made specific choices, and he has to live with the consequences of those choices. Now, he can put that song up. That's fine. He can say Heil Hitler. He can say the N-word. He can say whatever he wants. I do have to pause for just a second because you guys are going to find this hilarious. You might notice that I've been drinking this pink drink here. And why would Dave be drinking a pink drink? It looks like a regular water bottle. Well, I worked out this morning. I put a little creatine in it. And if the people
I
were to
just
bust
finished
into my
mine.
room right now, look at this. Look at this. You see the white powder?
It's not looking good.
It does look like that. Because I carry it around with
I
me.
knew it.
You know what's funny? Every time I'm in a hotel room, when I bring these little creatine things, I do it, usually over the desk. It ends up being powder there. And I'm always like, all these cleaning ladies must think I'm on cocaine. But okay, anyway, as for Kanye, look, and Russell and I did discuss this a bit off air this week. Look, he has every right to say whatever he wants. And as long as it's so, look, the hate speech thing, I mean, my opinion on hate speech is the Supreme Court's opinion on it, which is there's no such thing as hate speech in a legal sense. You can say whatever you want. We have specific things around direct calls to violence and libel and slander. That's it. But I would say, Russell, to your real point, where do these people fit into the culture? What should we be thinking of them and everything else? I mean, what I would love, and I think this is to Sage's point as well, is give me great art. How about that? I kid you not, I would love if the next time I opened up Spotify, there were 10 great new songs that just rocked me, that I was like, man, these are all bangers. But I don't remember the last time that happened.
What
I don't
happened to
want
the Beatles?
Personally, I don't want to open up Spotify and hear Heil Hitler, right? But it can be there if as long as it works with the Spotify TOS. But I listen to the same music that you guys know, I interviewed 91-year-old Frankie Valli a month ago. That was amazing to me because the guy's got a catalog of 50 songs that are awesome. I love Frank Sinatra. I love there's so many, but when it was about the art. So whether it's music or painting or whatever, I want artists to be about art. Now you can push the limits, but you might also understand that something's going to hit back on you. And just one last thing real quick. The other part of this is all these people online are saying, oh, he has every right to do it and blah, 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 Heil Hitler, while they're afraid to say the N-word, right? Because he says the N-word in the song, but they're afraid to say the N-word. Now, I'm not saying you should say it or that it's a good word or anything else, but that shows you a little discrepancy there. And I also think if there was a white rapper that was singing about how great the slave owners were, that somehow these people would not be telling you what a great song this is.
Yeah.
But again, we all have these inconsistencies.
No, I am so glad you said that. And I will say this quite often, I would say 99% of the time, the controversial lyrics are coming from which group, which type of music. It is rap music. Country music, you don't have that. So I'm just saying that, yes, that make it about race. I don't care. I think it's a discussion for another time, but that is almost always where it comes from.
To wrap up this segment before we hand over to Jillian, it was Ice-T that brilliantly said that when Tipper Gore was against hip-hop music, she specifically focused on explicit content in hip-hop, even though Johnny Cash does say, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. And Tipper Gore don't have no problem with that. And the Sex Pistols, of course, famously wore swastikas. And the Beatles were cancelled when John Lennon said, we're bigger than Jesus. Maybe the reason that culture is eating itself and pulling references from all over the world and all over history is because the culture is dead. Our systems are dead. And the reason when you switch on Spotify and there ain't 10 new Frankie Vallis or 10 new Paul McCartneys or 10 new Diana Rosses is because the culture has reached a nadir. Certainly that's what I think. But why don't you let us know what you think in the comments and chat, and let me know what you want to see more of in our conversations today.